So chapter 2 of my comic book series, Orion Keller's Vampire Killers, is nearly 68 pages long, and I'm paying for the complete production of this comic book myself. Now, I'm not Marvel, I'm not DC, I don't have any mega publishing company financing this book. The money has to come from somewhere, and here's the crazy part. I'm the one who wrote it this way. But for you to understand why chapter 2 of Orion Keller's Vampire Killers is this large, you first have to understand what chapter 1 needed to accomplish. Chapter 1 has 4 primary goals. The first was to introduce Hezekiah Draven, one of the main protagonists of Orion Keller's Vampire Killers, along with the immediate conflicts that surrounds him. And more importantly, readers needed to understand what motivates Hezekiah and the stakes that are involved in his journey. And then, the second goal was world building. Now, if you've been a viewer of my channel for some time now and you watch my content and my live streams, you already know that I love world building. I think that's one of the things that I enjoy most when it comes to writing stories, especially for my comic book universe. And it's no different here because Neodelphia isn't just a location where the story takes place. The city in particular is a character itself. And I wanted readers to see enough of Neodelphia to begin asking questions and speculating about how it functions as a society. And why is the city structured this way? What happened to old Philadelphia? What separates the upper city from the lower city? And what kind of history created the Neodelphia that we know today in this issue of Orion Keller's Vampire Killers? And the third goal, I wanted to establish the mystery surrounding vampires in my universe because these aren't your typical vampires that follow the traditional rules that most people come to expect when it comes to their kind. So in chapter 1, I wanted to pretty much show enough so people can recognize that, yeah, something is different without me immediately explaining how everything works. And finally, chapter 1 is pretty much my first self-published book, and I decided to give myself a page limit of 32 pages. And this is very important because I want creators to listen, because I use this as a metric to pretty much hold myself accountable and not make excuses to the point that I don't release anything. So that limit was important. I didn't want to continue to add more ideas, expand the story, and prolong the series or prolong it to the point where it becomes unrealistic and I just give up on it. So that's why I gave myself that limit of 32 pages. And with the success of chapter 1, it taught me a few things. I ended up having a successful Kickstarter, and that success revealed something important to me, that there is actually an audience who actually sees the potential in this series and wants to see where it goes next. But there was one major criticism I continued to hear from readers, that the book was just too short. And honestly, I understand why they felt that way. So chapter 1 ends with a shocking cliffhanger, and once readers actually reached that moment, they wanted to know what was going to happen next. And I love that reaction, and that reaction was important information for me to collect because it helped shape my plans moving into chapter 2. However, the answer wasn't simply just make another book longer for the sake of it being longer. Chapter 2 has a completely different responsibility. So the goal of chapter 2 is to expand the scope, its story, and establish the framework for Orion Keller's Vampire Killers' first major arc within phase 1, which is the foundation of the Venus Orion Comics universe. And right now, I expect the first arc to be a minimum of 5 chapters and the maximum maybe 10. And I'll have a clearer answer as the story continues to develop because I just finished the script for chapter 3. But chapter 2 is where the larger sense or the larger structure truly begins to take shape. This is where readers will finally meet Isaiah, Caleb Draven, Hezekiah's younger brothers, and begin seeing how the 3 brothers fit into the larger conflict. And then, of course, chapter 2 also begins establishing the shadow war between the 3 factions, fighting for influence over Neodelphia. It starts peeling back the layers of how vampires operate in this universe, and it also explores more of Neodelphia's position as a city established within the Guardian State's territory. This is also where I begin to introduce the surface level of my wave force mechanics and how those mechanics affect combat, society, and the larger world building that I have established in the Venus Orion Comics universe. And if you want to understand how my wave force mechanics and my power scaling mechanics work, you can definitely check out the video that I've posted. I'll leave it down in the link in the description or maybe in the pinned comment. You need to go check that out. It may be quite interesting to you, especially if you build in your own universe of your own. And readers also get a chance to meet the Retributes, an underground operative group with its own role within the conflict of the Shadow War. And finally, after launching the comic series called Orion Keller's Vampire Killers, I can introduce the man himself, Orion Kellers. So chapter 2 has a lot of work to do, a lot of things to set up to pretty much have the structure for the future of this arc to just be something that really excites me, and hopefully it excites you guys as well. It has to move the plot forward without rushing these introductions of new characters, locations, factions, and competing perspectives must be established while still delivering a story that feels coherent. And this is where readers will begin to see how much larger Orion Keller's Vampire Killers truly is. Chapter 1 has allowed me to open the door, and Chapter 2 has to show you what's been waiting on the other side. Now listen to me when I say this. Nearly 68 pages was not part of the original plan. See, Chapter 2 was originally supposed to be around 40 pages, but I believe that it would have given readers a longer experience while at the same time still keeping production manageable. But as a creator and as a writer, and what Chapter 2 was actually supposed to accomplish with its structures, there was no way in the world that I would be able to fit all that into 40 pages without rushing through important details. And this is what you have to understand. This is the crossroads that you have to make as a creator yourself when you're creating and developing your comics or whatever project that you're working on. You have to make those tough decisions. So the characters wouldn't pretty much have enough time to establish themselves if I would have just managed it into 40 pages. And also the transitions wouldn't have flowed properly as well. And important moments wouldn't have enough room for readers to be able to process them. So in other words, the story needed to breathe. And before I knew it, the script had reached approximately 80 pages. And my God, even that was too much. If you've been following the content here on this channel where I talk about converting information that you have written from your script so the artist can put them onto page, this is where it actually became essential to me in learning the process of, writing the comic, writing the script. And Chapter 1 had taught me a lot, so I was able to apply that knowledge. Now I had to, it reinforced everything I knew, because 80 pages, did it need to be 80 pages? And this is where my editing and everything had to play through. This is where I started applying everything that I learned throughout the experience. Does this scene move the plot forward? I started asking myself that. Does it develop a character? Does it reveal something important about the world? Does this moment need to happen now, or can it happen later? And this is the type of discipline that you need to have as a writer of either comics, movies, manga, it doesn't matter. And then, of course, and if the page wasn't necessary for the structure of Chapter 2, I just simply removed it. By doing that, I was able to reduce the script from approximately 80 pages to nearly 68. And boy, that was a big difference. And after reviewing over the script, it definitely flows a lot better without filler or anything that was unnecessarily needed that added to this chapter itself. And regardless, this is still a massive chapter, but what remains there is because I believe that this is what the story needs in it. At this point, my artist Shabibit asked if I ever considered dividing the book in half. And financially, I understood why that option would make sense. And this is why I have so much respect for my artist, because she could just take my money and just go with whatever plan I have. But she also threw that suggestion as well. How about we just focus on this portion and then we'll work on this and that in order for me to be able to manage or not get financially hit. And I respect that about her. But after weighing my options and thinking about it, narratively, it just wouldn't work. And the way I structured Chapter 2, there isn't a natural place where I could divide the book without harming the flow of the story, if you get what I'm saying. And splitting it into 2 releases might make production easier, but it will weaken the experience I designed for the readers. So that created a difficult question for me as an independent comic creator. Do I protect my finances by shrinking the story, or do I protect the story and accept the cost? Now, if you watch my video about how much it costs to create a comic, then you already understand the position that I'm in. I'm a writer. I can create characters, build universes, develop the lore, and write the scripts, but once the script is complete, I still need an artist to visually bring my stories to life. And for me, Venus Orion Comics and my passion for my universe that I've built are more important than making productions as cheap as possible. So I accepted that Chapter 2 needed to go beyond 40 pages, but you also have to understand that finishing the script is only the beginning. Before Chabibit can even work on the sequential pages, it first has to visually be established as far as the locations and the environments first. And I described before that my artist Shabibit is an architect as well. So one of the things that she does best is construct 3D environments for my comic book series from scratch. Before a new location can even appear throughout the book, I have to invest in building that set. The advantage is once the environment exists, it can be reused whenever the story returns to those locations. That is a long-term investment in my universe, but it's still something that must be completed before certain pages can actually be produced. And then there are all new characters that needs official artwork and designs before we even get down to the next chapter, especially if there's new characters being introduced in this chapter. After that, Shabibit produces the roughs, handles the lettering, and complete the final detailing for the sequential pages. Even after all that, we're still not finished. We still need the variant covers. We need the printed proof copies to make sure that everything is in order in the right place. Make sure that the lettering is correct on the printed copy as well. And then after that, we need the final printing, campaign materials, shipping the supplies, and also promote it. And when I produce character trailers or other promotional material, that may also require me paying voice actors to actually bring my characters to life. So all that comes before the book actually reached the readers. And some people may even ask, why don't you just draw the comic yourself? And that is actually a fair question. And here's a simple answer. I can't draw. At least I cannot draw at the quality level that represents Venus Orion Comics. And this is what I learned. I know what I want in my universe and what I want it to look like. And I know the standard that I have established, and I care too much about what I've built just to take a shortcut simply to avoid cost. So my responsibility as a writer and creator isn't to pretend that I can perform every specialized role. My responsibility is to communicate the vision, find the right people to be able to bring it to life, compensate them for their work, and make sure the finished product represents the universe properly. And this is why I avoid promising giving release dates for any of my projects, because I am financing the entire production myself. And as life goes on, you have to understand that when it comes to life, unexpected situations can happen, and it can affect how quickly pages, covers, campaign materials, or other parts of the production that needs to be completed. And I'm not just talking about myself. My artists have a life too. Anything can happen with her life that can mess up everything as well and slow things down. So that's why I don't really give an official release date until I actually have the book in my hand. But what I can say is that Orion Colors Vampire Killers is indeed confirmed for spring window of 2027. So expect that campaign to happen on Kickstarter. And as I said before, you can get on my newsletter and also check out my links to all my social media platforms to stay in the know of when to prepare for chapter 2 of Orion Colors Vampire Killers. So, was writing nearly a 68-page comic a mistake? Well, financially I made it harder for myself, but creatively, no, it wasn't a mistake. I could have just simply broke it down to 40 pages, cut out all the important moments just to produce a book and put it out there, or even broke it into 2 parts or 2 books and destroyed the flow of the project itself. And in the long run, it would have not only cost me more, but it would also hurt the identity and what I'm trying to establish with VK and the Venus Orion Comics universe. When you are independently producing a comic, a page is never just a page. It represents time, labor, planning, and a financial commitment that somebody has to carry. And in this case, that somebody is me. So that pretty much wraps up this video. I definitely want to hear your thoughts in the comment sections below. And I definitely want to hear your opinion when it comes to, if you're a creator yourself and you've been in a situation like this, I definitely want to know what you have done. Because as an independent comic creator, or just a creator in general, there's a lot of decisions that you would have to make, whether it's going to be finances or if it's going to benefit your project altogether. So would you have shortened the story to protect your budget, or divide it into multiple books, take longer to release the complete version? Like, which direction you would have taken? And if you want to follow the production of Orion Colors Vampire Killers 2 and watch me build the universe itself in real time, you should subscribe to my channel, Venus Orion Comics. This is Brian Howard Blackson Jr. signing off.